My MDs, I think I can see you. I have made you a co-host. You can unmute yourself.
Okay.
You can unmute yourself, sir.
I have. I hope you can hear me now.
All right. That's great. We can hear you.
Good.
All right. I think. Please, can you adjust your camera a little bit so that it can be centralized, so that we can see your beauty, your handsome face?
It is iPad, so it is the way it is stationed. But I'm trying to use my hand to. I don't know if you can. If this is better for you. Is this okay for you?
Yeah, I think it's a bit better like this.
Okay. So I have to find a pedestal to make sure to make it straight, to pose it to stay like that. Let's see.
Yeah, okay. Yes. No, yeah. Okay, I think it's better this way. Your head, yes. Yes, it's better this way now. Okay, a very warm good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I wish to warmly welcome you to the 11th edition of Inside the Arena. Today, Inside the Arena, we have a young man who has distinguished himself not only in the practice of engineering, but as far as the nation is concerned, he has paid his dues. And today we are going to be going through the life and time of this young man, how he started, how he was able to survive some setbacks in his life and career, and how he was able to get to the top where he is today. Inside the Arena today is the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Federal Roads Maintenance Agency, a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, and a fellow of the Academy of Engineering. It's my pleasure to introduce Engineer NURUDDEEN ABDURRAHMAN RAFINDADI. You're welcome, sir, inside the Arena.
Thank you, Engineer Ben. I'm glad to be here.
Your host, Engineer Ben O.C. Oko. Let's go straight. Before we go, let me quickly brief you on the rules of the game. You know, the first segment of the game is what we call the direct free kick. Because we are inside the arena, everything is like fashioned into the complete arena package you have in the world of sports. So the direct free kick is a segment where the host directs all the questions to the guest. And after that, we go to the corner kick segment, where the floor will be opened for the participants to ask questions. And after that, we go to the extra time. The extra time is the time we are going to award prizes to winners. We are going to have 3 winners today who are going to be going home with 3 fantastic prizes. Initially, the prizes were meant to be moderate, but we had to increase them because we have some friends who felt that the MD deserves something that is big. And we have a fantastic laptop here. Well, wow. Beautifully made laptop, and the other ones I cannot lift them because they are very heavy. We have electric oven and cooker, very heavy, and we have a washing machine. So these 3 prizes are courtesy of friends of Engineer RAFINDADI, and we are going to mention their names in the course of this program. So I enjoy all our participants to stay tuned and listen attentively so you can be one of the lucky winners for today's event. Once again, I remain yours sincerely, Engineer Ben O.C. Oko, the host. Now let's go straight to the questions. Who is Engineer NURUDDEEN RAFINDADI? Can you give us some insights about who you are, your personality, your education, your family background, everything you want us to know about you, your early stage of life?
Thank you very much, Engineer Ben O.C. Because this is a game and all games are ruled by rules, I don't want to go foul of the rules. Now I take your introduction of me as a young man, I take that in good faith. I'm young if my age was the age of my post-graduation experience. This year, I am 41 years post-graduation experience. If that was my age, I would be indeed a young man. So when you ask somebody of my age, of my proper age, actually, you add 21 on top of that. So if you ask a 62-year-old person to tell you about his life, the first thing I want to do is to ask how much time I've got. The thing with people who have accumulated years is that they tend to talk longer than their allotted time. I want to know how much time I've got so I can moderate and calibrate the volume of the length of my.
You can be giving us summaries of the answers.
Okay, even the summary can be long. My name is Engineer NURUDDEEN ABDURRAHMAN RAFINDADI. I was born in Katsina, specifically in a place called, in a quarter or a section of Katsina called RAFINDADI. RAFINDADI is both the name of a place and the name of a big family, as I'm sure some here will understand. I was born in 1960, specifically in March 25th, 1960. My late father was a civil servant. He worked in the Northern Nigerian government. He was an administrative officer. When we were very young, he was a DO. DO in those days, colonial times, means district officer. The crop of my dad inherited the white men. The only white men used to be DO during the colonial times. But the first crop of DOs, which is anywhere between a local government chairman to a governor, the kind of responsibility they have. For instance, my dad as a DO handed the staff of office to the Emir of Daura, who is a first-class Emir. Nowadays, I believe only governors do that. But anyway, my dad was in the civil service. He worked in the Northern Nigerian government. He worked in the successor North Central State Government and then Kaduna State Government. My mom was a full-time housewife. She is also from Katsina. A lot of the times was roving around different parts of the country with my dad. But when I got into primary school, I stayed put in Katsina. I actually attended a primary school called RAFINDADI Primary School. It's one of the bigger primary schools in Katsina Township now. Now, what I would call my first, what I regard personally as one of my first breakthroughs in life was when I finished secondary school and I got admitted into Federal Government College, Sokoto. Now, why is it a breakthrough? Federal Government College Sokoto was, and I believe still is, one of the best countries, one of the best schools in the country. We didn't have a lot of federal government colleges at that time. In fact, specifically in 1972, when I got 1973 January, when I got into Federal Government College Sokoto, there was only 3 of such schools in the country. Or I would say 4. King's College and Queen's College in Lagos, Federal Government College Warri, and Federal Government College Sokoto. These were the only federal government colleges until 1972. Shortly after I got admitted, we had at least 12 more federal government colleges. I say Federal Government College Sokoto was one of the best because the 4 federal government colleges were top in the country, but it was always a healthy competition. And for at least few of the years I was in Federal Government College Sokoto, FGC Sokoto was tops in the country in terms of performance of WAEC exams. So I benefited from that quality of education, but I also benefited from the outlook of the school. In my class, we were 77, and there were 12 states at the time of our admission, and there was something like anywhere between 5 to 7 students from each one of the 12 states of the country. So I can say to you today that in my class, which passed out in 1977, I know at least 4, 5, 6 people from each one of the 12 states of the country then that I could almost consider to be my siblings. We grew up together from 11, 12 years old, and we've become life friends since then. And that has tremendously affected the outlook I had for this country, Nigeria. It's one big family, and I feel at home in every part of the country, and that has helped me in no mean measure professionally. Where I finished Federal Government College Sokoto in 1977 and went straight to ABU. In ABU then we had School of Basic Studies. It is if you call it a crash course of high quality education you get as preparatory to university education. At the end of 12 months, you sit for an exam called IJMB, and that earns you admission into the university proper, in the degree course proper. My degree course was from 1978 to 1981, and my course of study was civil engineering. I was in the Faculty of Engineering, Department of Civil Engineering. I finished my degree course in 1981 and passed out with a second class upper 2-1. And I was posted to NYSC in Lagos. Lagos State was my state of deployment in the NYSC. And that lasted sometime between July or August, for 12 months until the following year. I served in my place of primary assignment in Lagos was Citizenship and Leadership Training Center. It's a federal government agency under the.
Okay, let me pause you there, and because we still have to talk about. Let me pause you there, because we still have to talk about your service. You know, when we are talking, you did mention that Federal Government College Sokoto was one of the best at that time. But there's something I want to ask you. I want to take you back to that. As at that time, when you went to secondary school, Katsina State was still part of Kaduna State. There was no Katsina State then. That means we are from, as at that time, we were from Kaduna State.
North Central State, we called it.
Yeah, and Barewa College, Zaria, which was closer to you, was a dream to every young student from the northern Nigeria. Barewa College is the only school as a day that has produced more than 3 or 4 presidents of the country. So why didn't you choose Barewa that was very close to you? Why did you opt for Federal Government College Sokoto?
Well, the reason why I opted for, I will tell you straight, bottom line, the reason was that FGC Sokoto was better. But it was not initially my choice, it was a fortuitous choice. Let me tell you why FGCs were good then. There was a meticulous system in which the top students in every state were picked and selected for admission into the federal government colleges. I mentioned to you that we have about 5 to 7 states, 5 to 7 from each state of the federation. My name came up after the results of the common entrance examination, and I was assessed to be one of the top 3 students in Katsina province. There were just 2 provinces then, and Katsina province, Zaria province. Katsina province included Daura, and Zaria province included all the local governments from Zaria down to Kafanchan. Okay, so I believe that about 6 or 7 of us were chosen from the then Kaduna state. It was actually called North Central State then. And so our names came up and we were invited without any input from us. We were invited to come for an interview in Kaduna into federal government colleges. I got highly excited having found out that the federal government colleges were top in the country. And then I quickly found out that FGCs were better than Barewa. Yes, that is the fact. Barewa is older. It has a richer history. It has produced many presidents. But don't forget, Barewa College has a long history. It started before the colonial times. I believe that Barewa started during the colonial times as what we then called Old Katsina College. So Katsina College was the first educational institution in northern Nigeria.
Let me ask you another question also that, you had your master's degree in water resources from the Ahmadu Bello University. Now, during your first degree, you received the Shell Prize for the best final year project and also the Morgan Moniton Prize for the best project in structural engineering, both in 1981. Your first degree, your project was in structural engineering. Why did you switch to water engineering?
Very good question. This question precisely is the question that my professor then in structural engineering was Professor Florek. He was Polish. He said, "Why are you coming to do masters in water resources? You were a structural person." And the answer again is that I will tell you, when we were in school, all the way from secondary to university, myself and a small group of friends just had a passion for mathematics. I will tell you, throughout my A-level, I didn't really learn anything new in math, not much new in mathematics until I got into the degree, because we went really deep and far in what we call additional mathematics in secondary school. So mathematics was one of the things that really, really, really interested me. Other subjects, of course, were physics, chemistry, and geography. I did structural engineering because I was selected based on my assessment to be a good on structure, and I was assigned a project in structural engineering. But hydraulics, hydrology, and hydraulic structures, that was a subject, is the one that really interested me in when you look at the complexity of the calculus and the differential equations and all those advanced techniques in mathematics, numerical analysis, and so on. And it was being taught to us by Professor Gill. He was a foremost professor who soon then transferred to, I think, one of the American Ivy League universities. And it really interested me. That's where my interest in hydraulics, hydrology, and hydraulic structure started. But as fate would have it, I also took my first appointment post NYSC in a River Basin Development Authority. That was Sokoto Rima River Basin Development Authority. And I was immediately assigned as a pupil engineer to work with the consultants supervising Goronyo Dam. Goronyo Dam is one of the really big dams in northern Nigeria. It was bigger, it is bigger. The reservoir of Goronyo Dam is bigger than Bakolori Dam, the famous Bakolori Dam. Bakolori Dam has about 350 million cubic meter storage. Goronyo Dam had 942 million cubic.
Okay, let me ask, since you have mentioned Sokoto River, since you have mentioned Sokoto River Basin, that is where you began your career as a pupil civil engineer. That means you began your post NYSC career as a civil servant, and after the creation of Katsina State in 1987, you transferred to the Katsina State Ministry of Agriculture and was in service till 1991 as an assistant director, irrigation. Why did you leave the civil service to join the private sector?
Yeah, another good question. I was in the River Basin Authority. It was really exciting to work there, building small dams, large dams, hydraulic structures, and so on. And in 1984, I got admission to study a master's in water resources. Having come back from water resources, I did one more year in the River Basin Authority. There is at least a couple of small dams that I built personally on direct labor with a team that was assigned to me. I went to the state government simply because I had a bigger salary and bigger rank. I left the River Basin Authority as an engineer 1 on level 9. Having looked at my profile and my background, I was given a level 12 in the state government, and that sounded really good. Plus the fact that made me move to Kaduna, a town where I grew up. I consider Kaduna, along with Katsina, to be really the towns that I grew up. Kaduna because my dad was a civil servant, and because Kaduna was the capital of northern Nigeria and went on to become North Central capital. So it was just both the environment. I moved to Kaduna City instead of moving among rural areas, building small dams and rural infrastructure. And also that I was now a level 12 principal engineer, level 12 officer. That was a big move. And but of course, thirdly, because I was then placed as a project engineer for irrigation projects. Irrigation is another part of hydrology and hydraulics engineering, and that also interested me. So that is why I moved to Katsina to the state government in Kaduna first. But then, before completing 1 year in the state government, Katsina State was created. And whereupon I had to now move back to Katsina. And as the fate would have it, I spent another 3 years until the end of 1990, being not just the principal engineer, but the second in command of the department of irrigation engineering in Katsina State Ministry of Agriculture. So that really was the reason.
Okay. Now, before we go further, who are your role models in life and in your profession?
Well, I will tell you first what makes people what makes me attracted to people that I consider to be role models. First, if you look at my background, the exposure was that right from the beginning. I had contact with people from all over the country, and I was able to discern and recognize skills and values from wherever they came. And one of the skills that I really value was someone that had command of his work in terms of competence and in terms of ability to relate with people from wherever they came. Second, somebody who has competence in my profession, which is my chosen profession, which is engineering. I have so many role models. I don't think I can venture to start an exhaustive list of role models, but I will tell you that the few that I can remember, I had one or two teachers in secondary school that were really, really good, and that I really appreciated. One of them was my maths teacher. He was an Indian, and I really admired the way and the command he had of the subject. The name has no recognition anywhere. If I just mention his name was Mr. Pandey, but I don't know where he is now. Mr. Pandey, Pandey, P-A-N-D-E. He was really good in maths. And of course, my principal then, he was British. His name was Mr. Peter Howard. If you mention that to anyone, an ex-FGC Sokoto student, you will readily recognize that. There were fellow students that were my senior, and they were really good, particularly again in maths, that became my role models. I don't think anyone I haven't seen at least one of them. His name was Samuel Adiagbo. He's from Kwara. I don't know where he is now. I'm sure if he's somewhere, he will be really shocked if he were to see me now and hear me talking about it. He was one of those that really struck my interest in mathematics. Coming down to the university, I had a lot of further role models, but then I would say coming into the workforce, when I got into the River Basin Authority, one of the people that really inspired me was the chief executive then of not Sokoto Rima, but another river basin called Kaduna Karadua River Basin Authority that was created when the states were carved out and river basins were made based on boundaries of states. His name was Alhaji Imrana Yazidu, who incidentally was also my uncle. He's from RAFINDADI. He was one of the earliest educated people. He's slightly older than my dad, but he had a PhD in agriculture. He had an excellent command of communication skills and English, and he really commanded respect among all the people that worked with him. He's late now. That was really what a role model looked to me like. I found myself just listening to him, how he talked, how his diction, how he writes, and always trying to ape him.
Now I want to take you to Afri Project. I want to take you to Afri Project Consortium. Yeah. Tell us about that organization and some of the landmark projects you were involved in at Afri Project.
Yeah, well, when I spent another 4 years, so that made a total of 9.5 years in the civil service. At that time, in 1990, I had spent 4 years in the state service, both Kaduna State and Katsina State. I began to feel agitated that I needed to do something more and I needed to be challenged. I needed more challenges. And I was already made an acting assistant director. So I was getting past the level of professionalism into bureaucracy. And I said, now this is the time to leave. I got into discussion with a few other friends that had similar passion with me. And the passion really is to go into core professionalism. And these other friends First and foremost among them is late Alaji Salihijo Ahmed of blessed memory. He was a quantity surveyor. He was also a 2-1 or first class graduate of ABU from quantity surveying. And another one was Salihijo was my classmate and a very, very good friend. Another one was Engineer ABDURRAHMAN Dahiru. That one was our senior by about 5-6 years. He did Federal Government College Sokoto. He was a Shell BP scholar. Shell BP scholar means that when he did his HSC, Shell BP sponsored him to go to UK and do a degree in mechanical engineering. And after that, he became a staff of Shell BP. So he was a top flyer in his class. The third person was Murtala Aliyu. He is also a quantity surveyor. He practices. He's presently the president of QSREN. He was also a close friend, and he came into ABU 1 year behind us. And finally, Hajia Amina Mohammed. She is presently the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. But at that time, she was working with a UK firm of architects. It was called Archcon Norman and Dorban in Kaduna. So this made 5 of us. And we all had similar ideas that we needed to blaze the trail of professionalism based in Kaduna. And therefore, in 1990, we registered a firm called Afri Projects. And our dream was just to go for the really big, the best, and the most high-flying projects, and in not just engineering or quantity surveying or architecture, but other diverse places like project management, like projects finance, and so on. And we were barely 10 years experience, most of us, except Engineer Dairu. And here we were trying to blaze the trail to do a one-stop shopping on consultancy services. We wanted to be able to take your project, conceive it, design it, even source finance for it, and project manage it into post contract and deliver it. So the mantra then was project delivery. We want to deliver your project on time, as conceived, and as planned, and as costed. So it was a very tall and ambitious thing. It was very challenging to begin with. We had our first project around 1991, the NDIC headquarters.
Can you give me some just few landmark projects you executed under Afri project? Just one.
Yeah,
or
sure.
two.
Like I was beginning to say, one of the first projects I can remember that we did, and our role then was project managers, was the NDIC headquarters in Abuja. You know that building where the debt management office is on the way to the airport? Yeah, that yes. was a project. The architect was architect Victor Atta. We worked with him. He was a close friend to us. He was Inter-Design Partnership, I think was the name of his firm. And he is the architect. He was the architect of that building. The quantity surveyor to that building was Nasiru Erufai and Partners. A services engineer, that's electrical mechanical service engineer, was a firm named Ellen's Consult. I don't know if you would know him. He's a prominent member of the consulting profession in Nigeria. Structural engineers were Ladium and Associates. That is also a firm that was, the principal was, I believe, late Niyi Oguntoye. And the project managers, that is, the project managers are the consultants who put all this together and make them to work and deliver the project, was Afri Projects Consortium. So that was one of the earliest projects that I remember that we did. Shortly after that, we got a commission to help 3 states. Actually, it was 5 states, but 3 states in particular signed us on as their consultants: Kaduna State, Sokoto State, and Kebbi State, to obtain a financing from the African Development Bank that would assist them to upgrade their primary healthcare system. So we conceived and designed a chain of primary healthcare centers across these 3 states. We were later joined by Ondo and Ogun states. Ondo and Ogun states, that was the time I first met ex-Governor Mimiko, who was then Commissioner of Health. And we, Amina in particular, my partner, she was very skilled in this aspect of coordinating with donor agencies, multilateral agencies, and getting financing and support from them, putting together the project. That was the first time I went to Abidjan, where the African Development Bank was. And Amina was good. She was excellent. She had the command of all the connections and the links and the structuring of the agreements and so on. And so these are 2 projects that I really, really remember. But there was a lot of them, including roads and bridges and buildings, which included a number of buildings for financial institutions and so on, where my friend and brother Salih Hijo Ahmed had been in as a quantity surveyor. Only that this time we went into project management. The AIB building in Victoria Island, if you know, I don't know what they call it now.
Okay, let me bring you back to the engineering field. Talking about the society. I mentioned when I was introducing you that you are a fellow of the Academy of Engineering and a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. And it was just yesterday that I realized that you are the 3rd president of FAEng that is coming inside the arena. We've had Engineer Suleiman Adamu, we've had Engineer Edet James Amana, and you are the 14th president of FAEng. You served from 2012 to 2013. What took you to the politics of FAEng? Was that part of your major achievement in life? And what were your landmark achievements as FAEng president? You can summarize that in 1 minute.
Yeah, you are right. I came into FAEng because I was a member of FAEng right from the inception of, not from the inception of AfriProjects Consortium, but the inception of the PTF. As you would know, about 5-6 years after creating AfriProjects, we got landed with a big job to project manage Petroleum Special Trust Fund.
I will come to that.
Okay. And one other thing you should know about the PTF is that in the course of doing the projects in PTF, the PTF employed the services of slightly over 600 consultancy firms to do work for them. And the consulting community found that to be a major achievement, which it was. And we immediately got, we also found ourselves at home with fellow professionals. And we were all members of Nigerian Society of Engineers and also QS, NIQS, depending on our background. And therefore, I personally, myself and Engineer Suleiman, who was also a president of FAEng, and quite a lot of other engineers that are in really top-class professional engagements as we speak today. We got interested in the Association of Consulting Engineers, and I was encouraged by fellow seniors and role models. I have role models even in FAEng, people like Engineer Bayo Adeola, Engineer Edet Amana himself, who was one of my proposers to be distinguished fellow of the Association of, Academy of Engineering. And this gentleman and even lady, Engineer Adetiba was one of the presidents, kept encouraging us, and me in particular, to aim right to the top. And so in 2010, I got elected as a vice president of ACEN. In 2011, I got elected again as a vice president of ACEN. First, I was vice president to Engineer Bayo Adiola, who was then president. I then also became vice president to Engineer Ogumbayo, who became president. And I was one of the, I will tell you one thing, I am probably the only president of ACEN who served as vice president under two presidents successively. I stand to be corrected, but I think I served as vice president to one president, and then served as vice president to another incoming president, and after that, I was basically commandeered to be the president of ACEN in 2012 and 2013. So that is that about
Was that a dream?
ACEN.
Was that a dream come true?
Yes, it certainly was. I was at different times in my profession, I had wanted to go into the academia. Circumstances just kept twisting. I didn't go there. But one of my own role models, Professor Saliu Mustafa, said at my inauguration as president of ACEN, he said, I knew that he would get to the top of his career. I wanted to be the one grooming him to be a professor. He didn't, but I'm glad that he has now come to the top of his career as a consulting engineer by being the president of Association of Consulting Engineers. So it was a dream come true. I never thought that would come to pass. I never knew of anybody from the north, not from the north, because we had Engineer Folayon
Shagaya.
and then Engineer Shagaya, both of them from the north, also from Kwara State. But we never had.
Okay, now let me take you to politics. Many have argued that the reason engineers do not occupy the policy spaces in Nigeria is that they do not involve in politics. The last time your friend, you just mentioned his name, the Honorable Minister of Water Resources, Engineer Suleiman Adamu, was inside the arena. He did say that both of you prepared the manifesto of President Buhari before he became president. That means that you were a major player in the political arena. Your appointment as former MD, was it a reward for your participation in politics or an article of faith?
You can say it was both. Yes, I certainly had been a long-time associate of President Muhammadu Buhari. It started professionally. It started in 1995 when I was a member of the Afri Projects team who were doing project management work for him. He personally searched us out and said, I think I would want you to do this and this and this for us. My personal engagement with him was, of course, even much longer. But professionally, I have worked and related with the president from 1995 to date. So he knows the kind of, we've done hundreds and hundreds of projects in the PTF, in which he is a personal testimony to the excellence of professionalism that was in the Afri projects. He knew us, particularly those of us that were principals, he knew us personally. And then in 2002, when he got into politics, we were there right from the start. All the draft plans, all the draft speeches, all the draft manifestos. People like Engineer Suleiman, myself, and a few others were right there. We were probably a little bit more active. Engineer Suleiman a little bit more, because he was not only doing not just the paperwork, but also the field work, as in field campaigns and so on. I did some of that, but a lot of the work I did, eventually I was just fingered as someone that should remain back room and do a lot of research. A lot of the research and production work was I was personally involved in it. A lot of other write-ups and policy issues, I was personally right there at the back of it. So you could say it was a reward, but you could also say it was a recognition of professionalism. Mr. President knew me when and my involvement.
Did the appointment come to you as a surprise?
It was a surprise when I was approached, not at the time of appointment. I will tell you something. I was called by the chief of staff to the president about 6 months, 8 months earlier to say that Oga has asked me to ask you whether you would want to head a social agency. And I said, it is always an honor for me to do what Oga wants me to do. And then from there, things led on until I was appointed. So in the sense that I was contacted, it was not a surprise, but the fact that I was contacted to take the position was a little bit of a surprise, because I was looking forward to having an enjoyable consultancy engagement at least during the first tenure of Mr. President, because I was doing well as a consultant. At least 2 or 3 or 4 of the ministers were my personal friends or brothers and sisters, and we thought alike. And I did a lot of professional work in the Ministry of Water Resources with Engineer Suleiman, as well as Ministry of Environment then with Amina then as minister, the Ministry of Aviation then. If you recall, I was selected to supervise the runway rehabilitation of Abuja International Airport in 2017 before I came to FEMA. I did a lot of work on environment and environment related issues with the Ministry of Environment, while Amina was Minister of Environment, and water resources. Like I said, we did. One of the first tasks of Engineer Suleiman as minister was to sort out the chaff from the wheat of all the projects that he inherited. Almost 200 projects of water resources and engineering.
Now let me take you to FEMA. FEMA was established by Act number 7 of 2002.
Yeah.
With the following mandates. The mission of FEMA is to efficiently and effectively monitor and administer road maintenance with the objective of keeping all federal roads in good and safe conditions. The vision to become the most efficient road maintenance management organization that will enhance the economic well-being and interest of Nigerians. What are you doing towards the actualization of this mandate?
Well, it's a tall mandate, as I'm sure you would agree. If I take you back slightly, during the PTF years, specifically between 96 and 99, we did a lot of work in the rehabilitation of federal highways. In fact, it was the most massive intervention in rehabilitation of federal, mostly rehabilitation, not new roads, in the history of Ministry of Works. And our team in AfriProjects were at the top of it all. We started from conception to planning of it, to the project management of it. We stuck to project management, and we identified capable consultants to do the direct supervision of the project. And in those short years, over 12,500 kilometers of federal highways were actually rehabilitated by PTF. So the plan, the engineering and the planning and the administering of roads rehabilitation was something familiar to me. In 1999, the then federal government scrapped PTF, and that had an immediate consequence on the quality of roads. By 2001, 2002, the roads were in such a terrible shape and the government was advised, you must do something. This is something that is beyond what Ministry of Works alone could do. Can't you create a federal roads agency? The creation of federal roads agency is still the preferred option for the engineering community. Every president of NSC, every president of ACEN since 2000 has been a chief advocate of the creation of federal roads agency. It's not the same as federal roads maintenance agency, but maintenance agency was a creation of an agency that takes out the maintenance out of the Ministry of Works as a department. Before then, there was a Department of Roads Maintenance. It came out of the Ministry of Works. It has responsibility to do routine and periodic maintenance of the federal highways and some minor repairs and minor rehabilitation. But it doesn't have the mandate to build new roads, take roads from the conception to planning and design and construction. That was not the mandate. The mandate is simply to maintain, to monitor and maintain. If you like, go back to the history of the Public Works Department. You have road overseers that are given allotted slots of federal highways. Every day they take their motorcycles or bicycles or cars and go through that, do a windshield survey of those roads and take a log of all the potholes and other distress areas, and then go back and put that into the work plan of the agency. And then surely enough, in the next few days or few weeks, the construction team comes out and repairs this. This was the idea then of the Obasanjo government. Go back to those times when you could do preemptive maintenance, preventive maintenance, routine and periodic maintenance. That is essentially the mandate of FEMA. But at the time FEMA was created, there was a serious backlog of rehabilitation, and it did that as well. Whether we have been able to carry out the mandate, I would say that particularly in 2017 to date, which is my tenure so far, I would say that we've tried our best. Of the 36,000 kilometers of federal roads, we have gone from making good just about 1,000 kilometers every year, and today we are making good up to 5,000 or even a little bit more kilometers federal road. Is that good enough? Am I satisfied with that? I will tell you I'm not, because if you have 36,000 kilometers of federal roads, about 80% of which are not in really good and perfect condition, you'll find that we ideally should be repairing 25,000 or more and making more trouble, 25,000 or more kilometers of federal roads. But 5,000 is no mean achievement. It is not. It's when you are in FEMA, you understand the vastness of the country called Nigeria, and some of the roads are so dilapidated.
Let me add this to that, so that maybe you can take the two together. Precisely in 2020, about 36 billion naira was allocated to FEMA for capital projects in the 2020 budget. Then in March 2020, while you were playing host to the chairman of the Senate Committee on FEMA, you said, as it was reported in many dailies, that what is required annually to maintain Nigerian roads is about 125 billion against the 36 billion earmarked in the budget. But despite, you try to play down on some of your major achievements by saying it is the 5 kilometers is to you nothing. But looking at what you have put on ground compared to what was left by your predecessors, how, despite the limited resources available at your disposal or at the disposal of the agency, you have been able to achieve much in meeting to the mandate of FEMA. How were you able to do this? How were you able to manage the lean let me call it lean resources of, or lean allocation of FEMA to achieve all you have been able to achieve, vis-a-vis also the mandate of FEMA?
Yeah, you're right, Engineer Ben. I mentioned that figure of 125. Indeed, that figure is much higher now. If you want to, you see, the principle is if you can consistently invest sufficient funds to repair and maintain a significant portion, say at least 50% of the roads in Nigeria, and do that for 5 years continuously, then you will have much better sanity in the federal highways network. We nowadays I would say we need at least 250 and above consistently every year for 5 years in order to be able to achieve that. However, that doesn't mean
250 now.
Yeah, it will be more than 250. If you take the price of bitumen, the price of bitumen has escalated more than 100% in the last 12 months alone.
Sure.
So what you need to do in the face of this challenge is to be innovative and see how you can use the limited resources to achieve maximum value for money. And some of the few things I found out about that is, I won't downplay, one of the most important is to look inwards, look at your staff. I found out that in FEMA, you have a crop of dedicated staff that have the skills that only them have. There is no other agency in Nigeria that has a team of people with 25, 30 years experience of repairing our roads, only repairing roads. Their entire life has been dedicated to routine and periodic maintenance and repairs of roads, and they best know how to do it. And we have 36, 38 offices across the country in every state, another 12 zonal offices in every state. And these are not just offices. We have engineers, we have small tools and equipment, they have training, just specifically to do that. And so one of the things I observed was there was low morale in the staffing of FEMA. You needed to tell the staff, look, you guys are awesome. You can do a good job, and you need to give them challenges. And when they do good work, you commend them publicly. And once in a while, when they fail, you will tell them off, unfortunately. What I found that out is that we brought out the best in FEMA. Using that, I looked inwards to direct labor. We have a department called direct labor in FEMA. Direct labor tries to do what any other contractor could do, but of course their capacity is limited. We hardly could do, I would say we have not more than 10 to 15% of our resources available to be available for direct labor. But using that, we can do up to 20+% of the total maintenance work in the country. In other words, using direct labor, you can achieve more, you can achieve better quality, and you are more in control. That doesn't mean that you don't need contractors, because there are some really good Nigerian contractors. And I will also tell you, 95% of the contractors doing road works for FEMA are Nigerian contractors. This is the first time I really am amazed at what Nigerian.
In fact, that was the next question. That was the next question I wanted to ask you, because I know very well that when you were during the PTF era, of which you were a major player during the PTF era, many Nigerian consulting and construction firms were engaged in various PTF projects across the country. And I wanted to ask you today, as you sit as the CEO of FEMA, what effort have you made in promoting indigenous firms, or rather, implementation of the Executive Order number 5 vis-a-vis the PTF era? That was the question I wanted to ask you, but since you have brought it up, you can now touch that.
Yes, you are right. Before coming to FEMA, I was a very big advocate of Nigerian content. I have made appearances in National Assembly public hearings in favor of Nigerian content. So I was already an advocate when I came here, but I found to my surprise, because basically in FEMA, we don't do big contracts. Most of our projects are below 250 million. To tell you, to give you a perspective in that, 250 million cannot build more than 200, cannot build more than a couple of kilometers if you are constructing a standard road with all the drainages and other furnitures and so on. You will be hard put to be able to do more than 2 to 3 kilometers. It's not like Ministry of Works that can assign 40, 50 billion, 60. Nowadays, there are 200, 300 billion projects in the Ministry of Works. So we deal in small contracts. So since we deal in small contracts, you can't begin to look for foreign contractors to do even that. Because what you are saying is that even laborers, you will have people imported from outside to come and do minor, small jobs in Nigeria. So in that respect, FEMA is doing well. We are not doing a lot of consulting work because we don't do designs. Most of the roads we are doing, there's no redesign of horizontal or vertical alignment. We don't design or redesign bridges. Hardly any of that. But the few consultants that we employ, they are all Nigerians. Even when DFID, that is the DFID of UK, did an intervention on NIAF, occasionally they come and do an intervention on NIAF, Nigerian Infrastructure Advisory Facility. Basically, a lot of the consultants are also Nigerians. So in FEMA, we really believe in the potential of Nigerians, and we see the real value of Nigerian contractors. They can do more with less. Surprisingly, they do very good quality work. Of course, there are some really bad ones, and we make a note of them because we don't want them to spoil the name of Nigerian contractors. So we make a note of them. But I can tell you the vast majority of our contractors are Nigerian contractors, and the vast majority of them do good work. So what we need to do is to manage the intricacies of procurement, which is a highly politically touchy issue, and then also be very strict in seeing that correct quality and quantity of works are done before we make any payments, and everyone knows that in FEMA now. We only pay when the work is done, and we only pay when the work done is satisfactory. And everybody challenges himself to try to achieve that. And I can give you my own personal testimony that I'm really very highly satisfied with the work of Nigerian contractors who are Nigerian engineers. Yes, I can testify to
that. That's interesting. Now, I would call it an albatross. One albatross on the neck of most chief executives in Nigeria is the interferences of the National Assembly members. How do you cope with meeting the mandate of your agency with these interferences?
Well, that's how you cope with that is to try to deploy non-engineering skills. Unfortunately, I have to say that that the engineering skills you find for the first time that the engineering skills are not sufficient because they are veering into the arena of politics. Their job is to ensure that they get maximum benefit for their constituents. That is their job. Our job is to make sure we deliver based on our mandate, good quality work that satisfies the need for value for money. That is our job. We have occasions when these two jobs actually clash. The most obvious one is we have a mandate to maintain federal roads. Federal roads is only, like I said, 36,000 kilometers across the country, even though they are the trunk-A roads that they carry 80% of the load. But Nigerian roads are up to 200,000 kilometers. Now, if you take religiously, keep to the mandate of federal roads, you are bound to find clash in the National Assembly because they'll say, my friend, these are also Nigerian roads. Is it only federal roads they are doing? Well, these other roads, don't they deserve attention? Is it not your federal roads that got so spoiled that vehicles have to veer into state roads and damage our roads? And which is also true. So you always have to make allowance for roads that are not federal, but you can justify it as being spurs from federal routes. They feed into federal routes and they feed out of federal routes. And that sometimes you do a detour from damaged portions of federal roads through state roads. And I have very good classic examples of state roads that have taken the burden off federal roads. And because of that, the politicians feel very, very hotly, that passionately, that you should also service some of those roads. The other area of clashes, like I earlier hinted, is in the area of procurement. Unfortunately, the Procurement Act in Nigeria has done all it can to ensure that value for money is obtained, to ensure that due process is followed, and to ensure that transparency and openness is adhered to in the procurement of public goods and services. What, in my opinion, the Procurement Act has not catered for is the need to take care of local contractors. Not, if you were to concentrate only on quality, you might end up giving all the contracts to Julius Badgers and RCCs and Borini Pronos and so on. But like I said, when I was an advocate for Nigerian content in the National Assembly, all over the world, there are policies of localization of content. You need to get your professionals and your contractors to try their hands on the work so that they can learn on the job and get better. Nobody gives you an opportunity in another country to start as a road contractor and perfect as a road contractor. Only in your country you could do that. But I agree also, I'm a passionate believer in that, but I also believe strongly that in doing that, you should try not to encourage, you should try to encourage merit, but not encourage mediocrity. If I am to choose Nigerian contractors, I will look at the ones that are really good, and there are those that are really good. I will not want to go into the sentiment of saying, let's give him a chance, even though his quality is not good, because you need to find those that have the good quality and encourage them. And that is why I always encourage fellow engineers when I see them. Let's go beyond just consultancy and design of roads. Try your hands on construction. Get to the dirty level of it. Try your hands on construction, and you will find that it's profitable. You will find that you make a good name, and it also changes people's life better. Anywhere you do a kilometer of good road, it changes people's life because the service and access is improved, and employment is generated far more than you would.
Okay, let me take you, since we are still talking on the roads, but we agree with me that some roads in Nigeria are death traps. From statistics, apart from reckless driving, one thing that has killed many road users, we agree with me, is also bad roads. The damage, now my concern is this: the damage begins from just a simple pothole until they become gullies. So what effort is your agency doing to ensure that roads are maintained on time before they became too bad? Example, I can give you even the one to my village. It's the federal road, Obuoka, Nara, and Kerefi Road. Maybe you may know it. And we also have recently, my friend,
that's which state?
used Bauchi, Gombe, Enugu, okay. Obuoka, Nara, and Kerefi Road. Yeah,
Okay.
in fact, if my village people are looking for me, they may not find me so soon because because of the road, I may not be able to get to the village as how do I put it, as frequent as possible. Then we have the Bauchi Gombe Road. Also, that's also in the northern part of the country, also in such state. What effort is your agency doing to ensure that these problems are tackled while they were still, while the roads is just beginning to get damaged, not when they have become death traps or gullies? Then we now begin to, talk about them and look into them.
Well, apart from what I mentioned earlier, on the fact that you need to try to make best use of value of money, and try to encourage professionalism and dedication. The only other suggestion that I will make is that the government or the country as a whole should understand that roads cost money and there is huge investment needed to do roads. You know why we are unable sometimes to attend to small potholes before they become big ones? It is because we are busy trying to is it because we are busy trying to repair the death traps that are actually killing people? And if you are, just try to consider this. You are FAMA, you go into a community. This section of the community has good roads, but they have small potholes that, if allowed, could grow. This other section has death traps. Drainages are collapsing. Roads are being washed out. And people are dying every day. And you say, no, I won't do that. Let me go and do the small potholes before they get bigger. You will simply be seen as uncaring, as callous. The fact of the matter at any time is that you have serious crush, serious lack of funds, so constraints on resources. And you deploy your resources to try to do the maximum you can do to stop the damage. And as a human being, or it's very logical that you go to those death and life situations and repair them. And then before you turn your attention back to those that are not yet death and life situations. Now that is the sentimental part of it. The professional part of it is what you said. You should repair the small potholes before they get large. That is a classic. In fact, by the time a road becomes a life and death situation, it should not be in the mandate of FEMA, because I told you earlier, at the core, mandate of FEMA is routine and periodic maintenance. If you take care of routine and periodic maintenance on the road, it will last its 15 years, 20 years life without much mishap. But if you abandon routine and periodic maintenance and you go to the real crisis point, what it does is that you will repair and keep the roads passable and motorable, but the potholes will remain. In FEMA, we have evolved a system where we dedicate a certain minimum portion of our resources to stick to routine and periodic maintenance, no matter what other disasters are happening somewhere. And the reason is because that is how we keep those roads longer. If you take a big, good, high traffic expressway.
Okay, talking about that now, you did mention earlier that you have a department called Department of Direct Labor in FEMA. In some countries, they have departments, some organized agencies that are also like FEMA. You see some departments like Operation Zero Pothole or Department of Zero Pothole. You have programs like Kill the Pothole or The Pothole Will Kill You. These are programs we have in some other countries, and they have departments that their job is to identify potholes. Wherever there are potholes, they kill the potholes before they will kill anybody, or that's to repair them. Does FEMA have such program or such department, or do you consider putting that as part of your work?
Well, FEMA as a whole is a department that takes care of roads maintenance, road repairs, and sometimes road rehabilitation. Even within FEMA, like the Department of Direct Labor, the direct labor, it does not divide into two and take care of potholes and then other general repairs. What we do is to say, dedicate a certain minimum to kill the potholes. We have had Operation Zero Potholes in FEMA. And every year, at the end of the year, we have Operation Ember Months. At the beginning of the year, we have operation that takes preemptive steps to ensure that before the rainy season, there are certain dangerous spaces or dangerous potholes or washouts that should be arrested before the rain comes. We have special programs that take care of major damages soon after the rainy season. So there is no season in the year where there's not a major program. And the simple truth is that the bottom line is that whatever we can do is determined by the amount of resources we have available. And in a situation where, like I told you, we are at any time having not more than 20-25% of the optimal resources we need to cover not only arresting the potholes, but also doing periodic and preemptive maintenance, and at the same time doing rehabilitation work. You need to have adequate funds to do that. But the good news that gives us satisfaction is that when we sit down and analyze, we find that we have done significantly more than we could have done with the same amount of resources some few years back. And the other thing we do, because then you cannot sit down perpetually and complain. We have done more effort in the last 4 years in FEMA. We have done more effort in trying to advocate for more funding for FEMA than any time previously. And it is good. One of the things is you go out and do advocacy. You reach out to the public, tell the Nigerian public what you are doing right, where you are failing, and what are your challenges. We've done that on the media. We've done that out physically. If you know of a program called Eye on the Road, it happens every Saturday at 10 p.m. And it has gone on the last 3 years, and it has a wide.
Now let us look at the preventive. Let us look at the preventive measures. Now, one of the major contributors to road damage in Nigeria is overloading. In most other plans, you have weight bridges on the road, to curb overloading, and we know the damage overloading has caused on our roads. What is FEMA doing about this? Now, the preventive measures FEMA is taking.
Well, okay, I will just clarify one thing. FEMA is an agency under the Ministry of Works. It takes care of physical aspects of monitoring and repair of roads, but a lot of issues on policy of roads are actually within the remit of the Ministry of Works. The Ministry of Works is in charge of the tolling policy. It is in charge of the loading policy on the federal highways by vehicles, and is in charge of policy of financing toll and so many other things that have to do with maintenance of roads. If these policies are in place, FEMA is a player. But I'm glad to tell you that at least in the last couple of years, there have been new policies of the Ministry of Works. I understand that there is already an implementation that has started on way bridges across the country. And there are rules and laws coming out that once these way bridges are in place, there are checking points and there are penalties for trucks and vehicles that are overloaded. And at the end of the day, these things will bring much better sanity on our federal roads, because right now what is happening is chaotic. Even in Europe, there is no highway that allows more than 35 tons of loading on any of their roads. No matter how good the roads, no matter the roads are considered to be better than those in Nigeria, but they don't allow up to 40 tons on the road. In Nigeria, even the ECOWAS protocol puts 45 tons as the absolute maximum that you can load on the roads in ECOWAS. But it's only in Nigeria, even in ECOWAS, where you have trucks carrying 60 tons, 70 tons, 80 tons. And the enforcement of that has to emerge from policies and laws. And there has been a very strong agitation for that in the past few years. And there are now laws and rules that prohibit that. Now, how do you enforce it? We have to have the mandate to enforce that. Not only the mandate, but the facilities to be able to enforce that. But I can tell you that if that is done, our roads will last much longer. The entire thing is up to the Nigerian public also. The laws are there now. Even as I speak, the laws are there. Enforcement may not be well developed, but the laws are there. And they are known to the Nigerian traveling public, but we just choose not to obey them.
Now, as we wrap it up, we are going to be winding up this session now, because getting you inside the arena, I know that even if we take 5 hours, we may not exhaust all the issues to be discussed about roads in Nigeria, because that is one aspect that every Nigerian on a daily basis fly the Nigerian roads. You have been holding stakeholder engagement workshops, even just recently, last week. The workshop was held in Northeast, I think in Gombe. You've also held in other parts of the country. What is the main object of that workshop?
The main objective of the stakeholder workshop is we have found that repairing roads is a very highly, not only a technical work, you may not realize it, is a highly political activity. It is one aspect of government work that has intense interest from the Nigerian public. It is one area where virtually everybody in Nigeria is a stakeholder. Unlike most other sectors, there's no person in Nigeria that doesn't have a road in his locality that could change his life if it is repaired. So we found that engaging stakeholders are even at the level of just informing them what we are doing, but also at the level of getting inputs and feedback from them is of paramount importance for an asset like the roads asset. The roads and bridges assets in this country is perhaps one of the most valuable assets owned by the Nigerian public. So every road that passes through a locality, that locality is a stakeholder. Our objective in the stakeholder engagement is to, as it says, engage with the stakeholders, inform them what is being done now and what is being planned in the future, and ask them what they think about all of it. Sometimes it might look at triviality to you, but we have been able to get very valuable feedbacks that are being put into the planning of our work plans every year. And we have seen that, and therefore we increase it. This year we have had more stakeholder engagements than in the previous years, and stakeholders are able to understand our delivery. They are able to get enlightened enough to actually give a feedback, and we found those feedback to be very valuable, and we are implementing them. And in doing all that, we get bigger support from the stakeholders. Just to give you an example, in the last 4 years, our budget has gone from, our capital budget in FEMA was 25 billion when I came in 2017. And even at that, there was 40% release, so we had only 10 billion. Today, FEMA has been doing sometimes more than 100 billion every year. In 2020, we did more than 100 billion projects every year, even with less staff, because our staff level has stagnated, and it is a very big problem to get permission in the public service to recruit some more staff. But we can see that we are working harder. And the reason is because we are getting more funding from government, because of public requests, public outcry. The public is actually telling government, why don't you give more money to FEMA? This has happened in 2020, where there was a special intervention fund of about 60 billion in addition to our budget. It happened in 2021, and even now it is happening. Recently, there was a environment of about 20 billion into FEMA, which is a change from one other government agency into FEMA where they think we need more money. So one of the biggest rewards we've gotten from stakeholder engagement is that there is public outcry to fund FEMA more. And that cannot be a bad thing for us. And if we continue this way, we might actually get to
okay, sir. Let me, we are trying to be able to meet up with our time. And now I want to ask you, you have been in FEMA since 2017. When your tenure ends as the managing director of FEMA, what next? Do you have any political ambition? I've not heard you purchased any form. Do you have, after your tenure expires, what next?
Well, the good thing, Engineer Ben, you know a bit of my background. From 1990 to 2017, for 27 years running, I was in the private sector, and I was enjoying my service. Not just enjoying for me personally, but I was having the satisfaction that I was doing things to change people's lives. When I get a consultancy or design or supervise a roads project or an irrigation project or a dam project, I know I'm dealing with things that actually change people's lives. For me personally, I'm already looking forward to the end of my tenure when I will hopefully get back into the private sector and do some more valuable work for the public. But in saying that, my overriding interest nowadays is what I do to benefit humanity in general, but also what I do to benefit Nigerian public. I am happy with my choice of career, which is engineering, because these are physical things that change people's life. If it means taking up a public appointment,
let me ask you, as we round off,
you've
given us your background and everything about your life. If a book is to be written about Engineer NURUDDEEN RAFINDADI, what do you think will be the title of the book in 1 minute?
I will say it should embody service to the public, and it should embody commitment to the Nigerian nation. If you look at my background, it is about belief in the viability and the flourish and the success of the Nigerian nation, because that is the environment I've operated for right from 12 years old. And if you look at my job, it is delivery of physical infrastructure.
So in one word, what do you think will be the title of the book?
Physical infrastructure.
The president of Koren, the president of Koren, who happens to be your friend, the first to be in the arena, said his own will be an engineer without borders. And the engineer Mekeze, born to be an engineer. And we have had engineer Mana, who has already written a book about himself, a Sojourn of Providence. And I was thinking maybe you would tell us the journey of a casino boy, but you have tailored it to another angle, which is also very interesting. So that's awesome. It's been a wonderful time, having you inside the arena, engineer. For those who are just joining us, Engineer NURUDDEEN ABDURRAHMAN RAFINDADI. So we can't see your face. Your video is off. Is the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Federal Roads Maintenance Agency, FEMA, and past president of the Association for Consulting Engineering in Nigeria, ACEN. And it has been an eventful time with you today. In one word, what is your wish for Nigeria?
My wish for Nigeria is that it grows to be a great nation in the community of nations. My wish is that you travel across the globe as a Nigerian, as a proud citizen of the world, and where you can hold your head high based on your accomplishments and achievements. And I believe that it is not only achievable, but very soon to be achievable.
All right, thank you very much, sir. We are going to open the floor now for participants to ask you questions. But before we go there, I know Engineer Margaret Oguntala is here with us. She is Executive Director in Kenol. You know, this is the first time we are reaching this number. If you look at the number of participants, we have over 110. Initially, our record was 100, though it was limited to 100 participants then. But courtesy of Kenol Engineering, Engineer Olu Ogunduile, who is the MD of Kenol Engineering, we have been able to expand to go beyond 100. And that's why you have over 100. And we say a big thank you to Engineer Margaret Oguntala, who is Executive Director in Kenol. And we have plenty beautiful, gigantic gifts, laptops, heavy cookers, and a lot of gift items, which are from your friends and from your colleagues. But some of them didn't want their names to be mentioned publicly. But privately, I'm going to come and meet you and give you the names of those who have sponsored the gift item. But I have to mention some of your executive directors. Of course, those ones I will mention. Engineer Professor Ismail Abubakar, I saw him today. And we have Dapo Kola Wole, who is also your ED, and we have Ifani Kamelu. Also, these are your EDs, and we have Toluhi also. And the Engineer Ige Babatunde also played a major role in coordinating these, and also one of your young female engineers, Engineer Demisi, Engineer Magdalene Demisi. So when I come to the office, probably next week, I will inform, because others didn't want their names to be, mentioned. We have, but I have to say some of them. I'll give you their names so that you can also appreciate them. They are the ones who have, provided this gift. The floor we open now, and we have our rules. If you have a question, you raise your hand. You do it in 1 minute. Please leave the compliments. Leave the exchange of pleasantries. Just go straight to your question. And if you don't abide by the rules, we will mute you and allow others to ask questions. Engineer Ikenna Okonkwo, 1 minute each, please.
Okay, Kosi, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go on.
Oh, okay, well done. Thank you so much, Rafindadidi, for the good work you are doing. It's your team that is making us to use the Nigerian route. Well done. Now, the question will be, I have some questions for you. The first one is—
One question, please. Sorry, sir, you take one, the most important of the questions.
Okay. How do FEMA select their contractors to ensure uniform road maintenance? Looking at some areas, you see the roads are better maintenance than some other portions. So I'm going to imagine, how do you select your contractors to ensure that what FEMA is doing in Enugu is the same in Jokuta, in Akure, in Sokoto, and all that? And what is your view on toll gate? Do you want the toll gate to come back? Thank you.
Okay, sir. Engineer Pere Pedro, can you ask the question quickly, please?
Good day, sir. It has been a pleasure hearing from you.
Straight to the question.
Well, please, my question is, you made mention of how it's difficult to do employment in FEMA. What is the way forward? Because every day we have young engineers graduating, and the employment sector is becoming choked. What is the way forward on that, sir? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Broker Oyevribo.
Can you hear me, please?
Go on.
Okay, I just want to ask, the Port Harcourt LMA Road over the years has been so dilapidated that the community had to even block the road at some point, and before federal government had to come to their aid. But yet, till date, nothing very serious has been done. And that road houses a lot of, you have petrochemicals there, you have the leading to the refinery, even to the Onep port. What is the reason why that road has not been done till date? That's the question.
All right, thank you. Felix Okonkwo, I think we take these last two, and then we will. Felix Okonkwo, unmute your mic. Felix Okonkwo, can you unmute? Okay, go on.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Yeah, my name is Felix Chidozie Okonkwo. My question is, I want to ask the FEMA chairman or director on how do they select the portions of the roads?
Managing director. Managing director.
Sorry, sir. The managing director of FEMA. The managing director of FEMA, sir. How do you people select the portions of the roads in the various parts of the country? Because there's one particular part of Otupa Obora for roads that had been in bad shape for more than 10 years now. In short, is a dead trap. And if we leave it this way by the rainy season, there's no way even truck cannot pass there between Otupa and Obora for axis of Enugu. Please, something must be done there.
All right, thank you, engineer. The last on this badge, Engineer Tohid Amusa.
Thank you, Ben. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Tohid.
Now, you just told us that you need about 250 billion every year to fix road. And what we have at best is about 100 billion. And this road will not stop spoiling, they keep degenerating. So your estimate today will still be short tomorrow. Tomorrow it will go higher. Now there should be, I thought there was going to be a federal road fund, but that has not come to place. All what we are doing now will not solve our problem. At best, maybe we can go to about 40 or 50% max. What is the status of the big game, the road fund? Thank you.
All right, I think we allow our guests to respond to these questions, maybe in 2-3 minutes, then we take the next batch of questions, and then we go to the final segment and wrap it up.
Yes, thank you, Engineer Ben. I believe you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
First on the selection of contractors to ensure uniform toll gate. Well, to ensure uniform repairs across the zones. The underlying basis for selection of contractors is the Public Procurement Act, right? So, and the methods of selection start from the public adverts, that is competitive bidding, public competitive bidding, or selective tendering, where there are issues regarding your ability to conduct a full-blown open bidding. And for that matter, different zones of the country belong to different geological zones, and skills or level of work on one section of the country might not give the same quality as in another part of the country. So, but in FEMA, we have our own data bank of performing contractors. When the contractors work, we go out to assess their work. We make a note of the quality of the contractors. We tag the names of contractors associated with certain values of work or
its quality or the lack of quality. And we're always trying to update standards to ensure that we have uniformity, like you said, across the country. But we have to follow the Public Procurement Act in advert. We get the adverts, we check all the eligibility requirements, we check their experiences, if they have previous experiences. If they don't, we just look at their previous projects in other sectors, not on FEMA and so on, and we monitor their work. So we are constantly trying to update our list of good contractors. Don't forget, at the same time, we have to struggle with there are always a large number of new entrants, because there are people that are being asked to come and try. I mean, as Nigerian contractors, we do give them a chance to see how well they are doing. So it's a problem that is running. It doesn't end. It's a journey in progress. We try to get the best out of them. Regarding toll gates, yes, we have every Nigerian we talk to tells us that, look, FEMA, it means introducing toll gates, do the toll gates to collect the money so that you can repair the roads. Well, the tolling policy belongs to the government, and the government has now announced a tolling policy that allows toll gates to be reconstructed. It has not started yet. FEMA will be glad to build and operate these toll gates just as soon as the policy and legal and institutional framework is given. But we as professionals also believe in the establishment of the roads fund and the roads authority. This is the bottom line. This is something that we believe in. It is not yet implemented, but there is a law that has been in proposal stage for the establishment of Federal Roads Authority and Federal Road Funds. The road funds will be funds that are put together and built up to take care of just routine and periodic maintenance. Road funds will not be for building of new roads, but we believe that once you have huge assets of roads and bridges, you should try to maintain them optimally. Otherwise, the value of these assets will keep dropping every year. On the issue of employment, yes, I did mention to you that employing new hands in public service is very difficult. First, you have to need, in my last count, you need at least 5 approvals. You need to have approval of the Federal Character Commission. You need to go to, first of all, we need the approval of our parent ministry. Then from there, you go to Federal Character Commission. The Federal Character Commission gives you the go-ahead whether to advert or not to advert. Then we need the approval of the board. Then we go to the head of service and the Civil Service Commission to get the approval. And finally, go to the budget office of the Federation. If you don't get any one of these, then you cannot recruit. If you ask me now, we will need at least 800 new staff in FEMA, even this year alone. If we can get 1,000 or more, it would be fantastic. But as at this point, we are still struggling to get 200 approved as a first stage in this year. So it's a function of how much resources the government has to employ and so many other considerations. I will also add here, however, that FEMA's capacity to generate jobs is not only in direct employment of staff. Every year, our own calculation, every year, we generate employment for at least 30,000, 40,000 people across the country at various levels through contractors, suppliers, and other indirect opportunities, and so on. And we believe that the vast majority of that opportunity belongs to engineering and engineering-related traders. And I think we need to think as a community of how we can optimize and maximize the opportunities generated by road construction so that we don't just rely on direct employment from FEMA or from the Ministry of Works. On the question from Oye Bibu, Port Harcourt LMA Road, yes, I know about that road. FEMA was approached about 3 years ago by Ministry of Power. I believe the Ministry of Power has a hand in it. At that time, our ministry was together with Ministry of Power. We went some length in trying to agree how much it would cost for FEMA to do that road. We made submissions, and those submissions were taken upstairs. I believe at a certain point there was some agreement, but somehow it never came through. I know the road, and I've been there myself, and some of our staff have been there to do the condition survey and do the estimate. But that is a road that is, I think, under the Ministry of Power. It could be done also by Ministry of Works or FEMA, but it all depends on the final decision reached by the ministry. All I know is that is a road under serious consideration by different arms of government on how to do it. I'm just hearing from you now that it has still not been done. I was thinking that between 2019 to date, maybe something would have been done about it. On the selection of portions of roads to maintain, well, there are two ways. We have engineers across the country, all over the country. Every year we do a budget exercise. We do our own listing of budget based on real life physical inspection and assessment, and we put all the roads that need to be in the budget. But as you know, we operate a budget system called the budget envelope. You can make a budget of 250 billion. One thing or the other happens. Either they say reduce the number of roads to fit into your envelope, or reduce the amount pro rata of all projects so that it can fit to a 50, supposing you have a 50 billion estimate or 50 billion budget, then you have to find a way of pro rata reducing the sum of all your contracts for their projects to fit that envelope. That is the constraints we operate in. Sometimes there are insertions from the National Assembly. That depends on the political power of the proposals of the project. I can tell you that at the end of the budget period, when the budget comes back, we always have roads that were not included by us, but by someone else. And all of those, every road that comes to our budget, we consider it to be worthy of doing. We don't query any of the roads that come, but in our own submission, we do prioritize. We have selection of criteria that ensures that a road is important to the federal highway network in terms of its role in connectivity across the country, and in terms of how much ease of access to production areas and so on goes on. And we prioritize them accordingly. So at the end of the day, the budget process is a political process and it's an economic process. The economic planners and the politicians always have the final say. In particular, Otupa Road going into Enugu State, I know about that road. We have not always been successful in getting it into the budget, but there are times when we did some palliatives along the road using our direct labor resources. I think that road is important because it connects not only Benue State to Enugu State, but basically connects the southeast zone of this country to the north central zone, and by extension the north. And I think I'm looking forward to a day very soon when we will be able to do that. But that road is a huge capital project, more likely to come into the budget of the Ministry of Works. I will conclude with Engineer Tawhid's question of the 250 billion, whether it will be enough. Engineer Tawhid, the 250 billion I mentioned to be enough is to be enough for FEMA to carry out its mandate. And FEMA's mandate is routine and periodic maintenance and some minor rehabilitations and repairs. 250 is not enough for doing major rehabilitations all over the country that we need. I'm sure you're aware of a single rehabilitation project that is costing 400 billion, 500 billion. So that is the entire road sector itself is a much bigger kettle of fish. I will conclude by saying generally that, hello, am I still on?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I will conclude by saying generally that until we have a stage, a policy, legal, and institutional framework where we can have investment from all sources into the roads across the country, we will not have sufficient funds to do all our road sector needs in this country. When you put together the budget of the Ministry of Works and the FEMA, it is nowhere near 20–25% of what the roads needs on a consistent basis. And that is why the Nigerian Society of Engineers and the entire engineering profession in general, we have been constant advocates of a road sector reform. Government has shied away from road sector reform, perhaps out of some fear of how much capacity of investment or how much ability of government to guarantee those investments, or how much control that the public sector will cede to private sector in the management of the road sector. But some of us here are firm believers that until we reach a stage where you can have an independent, professionalized agency, not FEMA. FEMA is a good first step, but a federal roads agency that has the ability to raise capital financing, bring in investors, and do these roads as economic assets. Roads are actually economic assets, not just social services. And categorize roads, find out those that are viable to sustain themselves in funding and operation, and find those that are not able to otherwise, and dedicate road funds to doing those other roads. It is the same as any other infrastructure work. If you take telecom is funding itself, but you still have Universal Services Provision Fund that is able to go to rural and underserved areas. And that is the same way that road infrastructure should work. Otherwise, we continue to have these constraints of funding. Thank you. I will stop here now.
Okay, sir. I think we have to take just these three people that have raised their hands. Maybe we'll just summarize their questions in 2 minutes so that we can go to the next segment. Please just make it snappy. Engineer S.O. Carson. Engineer S.O. Carson. Engineer, after him, Engineer Arinze Okuosa should get ready. And then we have Benny. Okay. These three people, we ask the final questions and we'll wrap it up for today. Engineer S.O. Carson, we are muted. Can you go on?
Thank you. The name is Engineer S.O. Kasim. Actually, I'm looking at a different perspective of road construction and maintenance in general. I just want to ask the Honorable MD if Nigeria has ever maybe looked at a situation whereby the construction of roads will only be handled by Nigeria, maybe construction company. In other words, maybe Nigerian government establishing its own construction company and handling the construction of roads within the country on their own. That's just, I'm just putting that forward. Has Nigeria ever looked at that particular side instead of just awarding contracts all the time? Because these are what made great countries like China and other countries to be able to grow beyond where they are today.
Engineer Arinze Okuosa.
Okay. Good evening, Engineer NURUDDEEN.
Yes,
thank you for this, your presentation. It was something else good. And also good evening to the host, Engineer Ben. My question, addition to what we are saying is this. I learned when you said that there is paucity of fund towards achieving your mandate. So I'm now saying there are some private individuals who at one time or the other wanted to construct roads or maintain it. And from what we normally hear is that the people from the Ministry of Works or FEMA, we ask them to hands off. So I'm saying if there are persons who have such interest, why can't they be brought to the table? I have discussion with them by either Ministry of Works or FEMA, and then tell them this is the specification we are looking at, and if they cannot cope up with that, how much would they bring to the table? And then thereafter, there could be incentives for them, maybe give them tax incentive, try to get tax incentive for them from the federal government. I think that way we can attract persons who have interest, you know, to help us achieve what we cannot achieve. So, yeah, thank you.
Benny, okay, 1 minute. Unmute your mic and speak.
Okay.
Thank
Can
you.
you hear me now? All right, okay.
We can.
Good evening, MD. Nice to hear you speak and everything. And my question is this.
Good evening.
Okay, the president at last year stated that Nigeria needs $1.5 trillion to bridge the infrastructure gap in 10 years. Do you think this tall order can be achieved? And as an expert, are there ways you can suggest to the government to meet up with these targets? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Would have been 3 questions, my MD, but I just saw a 4th hand, and that hand is the hand of your friend, Engineer Ademola Isaac Olorunfemi, past president of FNSE. I think we have to allow him to now wrap it up. He will do that in one minute. Sir, unmute your mic.
Yes, thank you very much, Ben, for the honor. My hand was actually on a few times, but I think it was just the network. Thank you so much. My brother and friend, RAFINDADI, well done.
Yes, so my president.
I didn't expect less than that. Incidentally, a number of the questions, Tori, the last lady, and all of that, have spoken to some of the questions. So quickly, and I'm also aware that because of, by virtue of some of our privileged positions, we have had calls to convey letters to you and all of that. So I know precisely what you are going through, and I can only wish you luck. Now, why has it been difficult? You acknowledge the fact that every past president of ACAN and NSC have been pushing for road reform. I remember the very first seminar in recent years. I was ESCO member some 20 years ago with late Engineer Davis and Engineer Tume. I conveyed the man from South Africa, from Ghana to town. And 20 years plus down the line, we couldn't just get it. I went to Sanra with late Engineer Chidi Izua, and I saw a limited liability company. Are we going to get this road reform, or the 3 kind of bills? Are we going to get it sometime soon, even in this dispensation?
All right, we have to wrap it up here, but my MD, one of your very good friends and a colleague, Professor Abubakar Ismail, just raised his hand. With your permission, we will just give him, because he's executive director in FEMA. Prof, you will do that in 30 seconds, please. Prof, we are giving you just 30 seconds so that MD can respond.
Okay, yes, thank you very much, Engineer Ben. In a situation where there is a federal government roads under construction and the contractor abandoned site, can FEMA key in to do the work, even if it is palliative? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, participants. I think that is all for now. We have to go back to the host, to the guest, Engineer NURUDDEEN ABDURRAHMAN, RAFINDADI. So please, we would respond in just 3 minutes so that we can go to the next phase and wrap it up for today.
Well, I will, because I have a short time, I will just address issues in general terms. Regarding the question of Engineer Kasim, unsolicited proposals, that's what I would want to call it. If someone brings a proposal and says, I want to do this road, and on my own, what is the approach? I believe that government receives such approaches. Generally, these things come to the ministry for the simple fact that the ministry is more flexible in determining the policy options it will take on roads. And therefore, ministry has received proposals from companies that say, we'll do this road and you give us tax waivers. That there is at least a project or two that is in existence on that. And this number of projects are growing. And I don't know about what will happen at a more local level. The government concern or the road sector concern is that there are standard specifications for federal roads that have to be followed. And the federal highway network is sensitive to this. The weakest link is basically what makes UMAS a federal highway network. So if somebody gives a proposal that I want to build this road, the government will look at the specs he's using and be very meticulously sensitive about those specs, because it can keep it can actually wash away and cut out one section of the country from the other. So I believe that is possible, but there will be procedures to that. On Engineer Arinze, $1.5 trillion to bridge the infrastructure gap. I believe I have not done and I have not sat down to do a serious analysis of that, but I think that it's a very, very attractive proposal. If we have $1.5 trillion to bridge the gap, most of the infrastructure is transport infrastructure, and most of transport infrastructure is road infrastructure. I believe that if you have even a fraction of that coming down to the road sector, you will see a drastic improvement on road access across the country. Now, the big question, of course, is how do we raise such funding, given that there are serious limitations on the funding resources available to the federal government. And the only way we can achieve that is what I said earlier. Let's have the road sector reform, and let attract investors to come in, take a look at the attractions, the policy and legal institutional framework that the road investments offer. How do you get your investments in? How do you get your returns out? These are the basic things that investors look for. And it has worked in many countries. Engineer Olorunfemi, I will give special recognition to all NSE presidents, right from 2000, when the Road Vision 2020, I believe, was done in Nigeria. It will interest everyone here to know that road sector reform was an idea that was born in Nigeria. It was conceived in Nigeria. It was articulated in Nigeria, and there was a big meeting in Nigeria around the year 2000, where the World Bank and other investors came to talk about this idea of Road Vision 2020, and it was adopted and accepted. And I believe that at least 25 sub-Saharan African countries have adopted road sector vision. This, if you like, call it the Nigerian vision, have adopted it, and they have reformed their road sectors. One of the few countries that have not done that is Nigeria itself. Perhaps you could say because Nigeria is more complex than many other countries, but just take a trip to Ghana here nearby, and see how the road fund has been working to sustain their roads. It was a Nigerian idea. So will the road sector reform be possible? I believe it will, because those of us that believe in it and keep pushing for it will not keep quiet. And the reality will also not keep quiet. The reality is that the Nigerian roads need to be the network, a good sound road network needs to be built, because that is the backbone of our transport infrastructure. The rail sector is trying, they are coming up, but we still have a long way for the rail to get to the point when they will give significant relief to the road sector. So I think that we should not give up. We should certainly not give up. And our presidents in NSE should not give up. Engineer Olorunfemi, when you were president, I participated in one novel exercise that I really enjoyed, the infrastructure scorecard, when we were able as engineers to tell the government how well it is doing on infrastructure and actually evolve a scorecard to show who is doing what and on what scale. And these are things coming from the side of government. I will tell you, these are things that interest government. If we can keep doing this, it is like holding a mirror to the government to see what it is doing, and is an objective and impartial assessment. And I'm sure it comes with the weight of the view of the entire Nigerian engineering professionals. And if we keep doing that, I'm sure that one day soon, very soon, that this idea will take root. It's a sound idea, and I believe that one thing it will do, it will open up the road sector in Nigeria to investments from all over the world, and then it will open the source of funding for building roads and maintaining roads, and diversify that source, and the economy will pick up from there, and it will be more than enough to pay up whatever investments that we have taken in. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Your question, Professor Abubakar Ismail. Yes, in the road sector, we are very meticulous between ourselves and other participants, like Ministry of Works. Like the minister will say, there is no double counting. We try to avoid situation where FEMA will do some work and the contractor and Ministry of Works will go and claim it and get payment because we have different accounting departments. As long as this condition is satisfied, it is always possible. More usual, Ministry of Works will say, FEMA, we are stuck in that contract, and the contractor is not there, the road is getting very bad, what can you do? And we tell the minister we can do so much, and we do that bit and we go. We have constant regular meetings with the ministry, presided by the minister himself, and we do this every year, at least once. So thank you. We'll summarize at this point, and I hope the discussion will continue.
All right.
Somewhere.
Thank you very much, sir. But this is just for your information, not for you to respond. Somebody made a suggestion that FEMA should create a platform, online platform, to enable Nigerians to submit information on bad road positions, their locations and coordinates, to be able to help FEMA to know the locations of bad roads in Nigeria. And the others are commendations, apart from Engineer Beredugo, who also mentioned about Port Harcourt Expressway, which he said for some time now is unpassable. So that is just for your information. Now, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the EFN president also made some mention about repairs of damaged roads, and he asked the design life of repairs and if FEMA uses concrete in highway repairs and rehabilitation. So those are some of the issues raised. I think you can also, when you address that, maybe some of them I'll send to you. We can also post to the people that ask the question. Because of time, we may not go into all that. I want to sincerely appreciate you, my very good friend and boss, Engineer NURUDDEEN ABDURRAHMAN RAFINDADI, for spending time with us inside the arena, despite your very busy schedule. We want to appreciate you. We're going to go to the last lap now. This is how it goes. We will ask a question from some of the answers you provided in the course of the program. The first person to get the correct answer will win the first prize, the second person will win the second prize, and the third person will win the third prize. You will be the one to confirm if the answers are correct. And we have a rule, please, all the participants should get ready. If you send in any answer before the question is completed, you will be disqualified. The next person to get the correct answer will win the prize. So you have to wait until I say submit. Once I say submit, you will now start submitting your answers. Now, this is the question. During the time our guest was responding to the questions, he did say that when he made a choice to switch from structures to water resources, when he wanted to do his master's in water resources, a certain man told him that he is a structure man. What is he doing in water resources? And that man, he mentioned his nationality. I want you to name the country of that man, the country. You can submit your answers, the country of that man. My MD, sir.
Yes, Engineer Ben. So I've seen some answers. What was the question?
The question is, when you wanted to study water resources, when you wanted to do water resources in your master's, a certain man, yes, you mentioned his name, told you that you were a structural man. What are you doing in water resources? And you mentioned the nationality of the man. The question is, what country? What is the name of his country? And give us the correct answer first before you now look at the chat box and see the people that have got the answers correctly.
He was Polish.
That means his country is Poland.
Poland, yeah.
Yes. Now we look into the chat box to see people who have got the answers correctly. The answer to the question is Poland. And we go down through the box. The first person to get the correct answer
was...
Sorry, I'm trying to pick it so I don't skip anybody. The first person is Engineer, is it Engineer S.O. Kasim? If I'm not making mistake, please, we have to confirm if they are the same. Engineer Kasim from my own side, 1. And I'm seeing also Mubarak Aliu, Engineer S.O. Kazim. I'm seeing Mubarak Aliu.
Yes.
As number 2, Poland. And I am seeing, sorry, I have moved far away from the, let me confirm after. Sorry, I am, okay, Kasim, Mubarak, and I think it's Ife Onyekwere, if not Onyekwere, I want to be sure. Please, can we confirm if, because the thing is, I'm not using.
Yeah, it's Ifunanya Onyekwelu. It's Onyekwelu.
Onyekwelu.
Yes.
Please, let's confirm, okay, if that is the correct answer. If that is what you are seeing from your own side, I want to see 5 people to raise their hands so that we confirm that we are all on the same pages. Okay, that's correct. So with that, we have confirmed our winners for today. The first person, Engineer Kasim. Engineer Kasim, can you show us your face, please? I want to see your face. Okay. Are you show us your face so we can bring you on to the platform for our guests to see you? Engineer Kasim, raise your hand. Just raise your hand. I will pick you. You appear on top once you raise your hand. Onyekwere should also raise her hand, and then Mubarak also, please. The three of you. Others should just bring down their hands so that I can see the winner. Okay, I'll see Mubarak. Okay, I can add you to the pin. Oh, I know this man. Mubarak from Katsina, I'm sure. Let me unmute you. He once attended a training I organized all the way from Katsina. I can see the face. That's Mubarak. You are the one, ba?
Yes, engineer.
Fantastic. I know the. Okay, Engineer Onyekwere, I can see you. And Kasim, I can't see Kasim. Raise your hand, please. Let me see you. I can't see Engineer Kasha. He made a statement when we are. I want to see the three of you so that we can. Okay, I've seen you, sir. I've seen you. All right, I've seen the three of you. All right, a very big congratulations to Kasim. Can you unmute yourself? Okay, a very big congratulations to three of you. I think I have to stand up to show. These are the. You can see how heavy they are, so I can't carry them. This is the washing machine and the cooker, the electric cooker. So these are the prizes. The first prize, as I said earlier, is this, and it goes to engineer. We place them according to their cost. This is a very expensive laptop, one of the latest laptops in town, and that is for the first prize winner, and that is Engineer Kasim. And the second one is the electric cooker. And the electric cooker is for Mubarak Aliu. That is the second prize. And the third prize is the washing machine. And that is for Ifunanya Onyekwere. We want to say a very big congratulations to the winners of these prizes. I want to say a very big thank you to Engineer RAFINDADI and some of the people that coordinated these. I mentioned their names before. Engineer Usman, the SA to the MD. We have also the EDs I have mentioned, Engineer Batunde Ige, Engineer Demisi, Magdalene, and I must mention these people, Engineer FAEng Kamalu, Engineer Professor Ismail Abubakar, Honorable Kola Wole Dapo, Emeka, Engineer Emeka, and of course, Engineer Ishabeyi, Onimisi Aina, Nampan, and the Babangida, and Engineer Charles. These are people that made this possible, and of course, Toluhi. And we must thank Engineer Olu Ogunduile for providing the platform to expand our numbers beyond 100. So I want to say a very big thank you to all the participants, all our senior engineers who have participated. I think I saw the president of Koren, NSC, deputy presidents, and past presidents of NSC. I want to say a big thank you to all of you. My name is Engineer Ben Osi Oko, your host. See you inside the arena next time, and have a very wonderful evening. The winners of the prize, please, you send me a text message and you come and pick your prize from the office. Please, Engineer Kasim, I didn't see your face, but you send me a message so that you can come and pick up your prizes. Thank you once again, and a very big thank you to Engineer NURUDDEEN RAFINDADI. Once again, at any time we need you inside the arena, please oblige us that request. God bless you and do have a very wonderful evening. Engineer Ben O.C. Oko signing out. Thank you.